Wayne! Wayne! Wayne sat up, wiping the sleep from his eyes as he looked around. He hadn't been working for the Cashmere intrigue long, about a month and a half, and this was his afternoon routine. Cashmere was a tiny little town. The paper only needed 3 reporters and a copy editor, and his afternoons had been spent napping and still getting paid for it. Wayne was usually responsible for traffic reports, police blotter content, and sports scores, and such things usually only filled his day until lunchtime. Today, however, it seemed that things had changed. "What's up, boss?" he said, looking at Mr. Pace as he stood impatiently behind him. "Gabriella's called out. She's going to be out till next Tuesday, and we need you to take her workload." Wayne held the sigh, but just barely. Gabby was one of the oldest writers for the paper. She had been there since the paper had been called the Cashmere Crier, and she was the one who wrote about the big events. Holiday celebrations, the dead hikers in the woods who sometimes showed up, the people who appeared on the buses sometimes, and so much more. If he was taking her workload, then he was going to have to step it up. "Okay, what's she got going on this week?" he asked, wiping drool off his chin. "I sent you an email, but there's a big one that you need to attend tomorrow. Get your stuff together and be ready, because I need a full report when you get back." Wayne nodded, letting his boss walk off as he opened the email and got to work. An hour later, he was sighing loud enough to make Tracy look up over his cubicle. "What's going on? I don't think I've ever seen you do that much work the whole time you've been here." "Hardy har," Wayne said. "No, it's Gabby's workload this week. She's got a lot on her plate. Garden Society judging, the store opening for the Cashmere Sundries, the elementary school's annual spring concert, and..." Wayne squinted at something in the email. "What is the arrival of the Ragged Traveler?" Tracy smiled, but Wayne didn't think the smile was entirely normal. He'd seen people look that way at church. He'd seen a date once that looked that way after some really mind-blowing sex, and it was 5 parts ecstasy and 5 parts religious experience. "Oh man, is that tomorrow? I can't believe it's been a year already." "Yeah, but what is it?" Wayne asked, getting a little flustered as the look continued to spread over Tracy's face. "What? How can you not know about the Ragged Traveler?" "Trey, I've only been in Cashmere a few months, and I've never heard of anything like this outside of town." "Oh yeah, I forgot. You haven't been here very long." "Well, go tomorrow and experience it. You'll get it then." "But what the hell is it?" Wayne asked, getting really frustrated with all this vague nonsense. "Go. Set up on Main Street. Get a good spot. Be there before 8. You'll want to see it, trust me. It only happens once a year. You'll... Well, I won't say any more about it. It's something that has to be experienced." Tracy went back to his work, but Wayne found it hard to get back to his. He went to bed later thinking about it, but the more he learned, the less he seemed to know. The boss had come out of his office towards the end of the day to remind him and Tracy that the office would be closed the next day for the arrival of the Ragged Traveler. He told Wayne that he wanted the story before day's end tomorrow and needed it in his email before the paper went to print at 9. And when Wayne asked him what it was, the boss got the same look on his face as Tracy. "That's right. It's your first time. Get a good seat. Make sure you record it. Don't videotape it, though. It'll frig up anything you try to record with it. And enjoy it, kid. The Ragged Traveler only comes once a year, and it's something that's best experienced in person." Wayne had seen the banners and the flyers on the way home, too. They hadn't been there that morning. He would swear to it, but now there was a banner proclaiming the Traveler welcome to Cashmere. All businesses had signs of welcome, and a few of them had murals painted that depicted a hooded man with a long chain around his neck. The eyes on those paintings seemed to follow Wayne as he drove by, and it gave him the willies. He wasn't sure what the hell was going on, but as he lay in bed and tried to quiet his tired mind, he found himself wondering about what tomorrow would bring. Whatever it was, Wayne supposed he'd have to get there early. Wayne arrived at Main Street at 8 o'clock the next morning. He'd expected the street to be deserted, perhaps a scattering of old people who were heading to the diner for coffee, but he was far from the first to arrive for the festivities. He had to jockey for a place to park, and clipped his press badge on his lapel in the hopes that it might get him a better spot. He had parked in the parking lot outside the paper, and as he grabbed his chair and began to walk around to Main Street proper, he was jostled by grinning, exciting townspeople. He had seen people at carnivals less excited than this. You would have thought the Pope was coming to town. There were lines of lawn chairs and cheap Walmart bag chairs everywhere, and there were even kids with pennants sitting on the curb like they were expecting candy. Not in attendance were the cloth shopping bags and plastic Walmart sacks that you usually saw kids holding when they were expecting to get treats. There were no coolers, no grills, and not a single dog in attendance. It all seemed odd to Wayne, like one of those magic eye pictures where once you saw what you were supposed to see, you couldn't unsee it. It was like a puzzle with missing pieces, and when a police officer stopped him, he wasn't sure what to expect. The man's smile was absolutely ear to ear. "Whoa, buddy, where are you heading to?" "Just trying to get a place for the event, officer." He thought it might be Officer Woods, but it was hard to tell with the rictus of a smile stretched across his face. It had to be Wood, had to be, but the man's face looked so different than usual that it was astonishing. Woods was no sourpuss, far from it, but this guy looked like he was having an absolute fit. The officer flicked his press badge, casually fixing those manic eyes on him in a way that made Wayne want to scream. "Your seat has already been assigned, witness. Come, and see him." The officer took Wayne by the arm, just like someone might do with a small child, and led him through the crowd. People parted for them, wishing them a happy day and saying how excited they were to see the traveler. Wayne had been to parades and public events before, but this one was strange, even by Cashmere standards. The crowd parted for them, leading them to a large raised platform where the mayor and many of the town officials were sitting. They all welcomed him, but they also looked a little off, their own mouths stained with worry. It was like that with public officials, though. They were usually worried about things going awry or things ending badly. Wayne didn't know who this ragged traveler was, but he wasn't sure that his presence was something that needed to necessarily be celebrated. Wayne took his seat between an alderman and the head of sanitation, and seemed to be awaiting for the show to begin. He fumbled out his tape recorder as he sat, switching it on as the crowd roared around him. He'd never catch anything with all this noise, but he remembered what Tracy had said and sat up anyway. Suddenly, as if a signal had been given, the crowd fell silent. Not quiet, not the murmuring silence of those who wait for a performance to begin, or who stand around a crime scene, not the hushed whispers of church or the muffled speech you hear at a funeral. This was silence, pure and simple, and it permeated everything that it touched. The noise began subtly, a low, angry sound that seemed to waft up from the end of the street. At first, Wayne thought it was just an air conditioner about to die, or maybe someone's engine in need of a tune-up. Then it began to grow in volume, and Wayne thought it might be a baby who would have just woken up from a nap. It began to grow, and Wayne worried that someone up the street might be in trouble. It sounded like that loud, lonesome scream, like someone who had been injured and now was looking for help. If anyone else heard it, they did not comment. They all stood looking up the road, looking at the source of the noise, and Wayne was a little afraid that that sound might be what he was waiting for. Then, all of a sudden, he saw him. Wayne's mind said him, making the traveler masculine, but he really couldn't be sure. The creature was draped in a series of ragged black cloaks, and his feet, while covered by those cloaks, slapped the pavement with each step. His appearance was off-putting, but it was the wailing that was truly terrible. The ragged traveler wailed out with each breath as if the mere exercise of existing was something that pained him greatly. The front of his robe was wet, the material clinging to him, and Wayne realized he must be crying beneath the folds of his many cloaks. The people were silent as he passed, but it was their faces that made Wayne shudder. Their faces were filled with such joy that it seemed rapturous. How could anyone look at this creature and feel anything but sadness? This thing was in pain. It was in agony. And when someone put a hand across his chest, Wayne realized he had been about to leap from the podium. "Don't," said a whisper beside him, and Wayne turned to see it was the councilman. "Don't interfere, son. You must not stop his suffering." Wayne wanted to ask how he could stand this, but then the ragged traveler came even with the podium. Wayne couldn't say how. He couldn't begin to explain why. But when the creature turned to look at him, at Wayne specifically, it was as if all the pain and suffering of his whole life left him. All the unfounded desires, all the unrequited needs, all the unsolved movements he had been forced to live, and all the sadness of every stage of his life had slipped from him like noxious poison. Wayne sagged back in his chair, the feeling of intense ease flowing through him, and suddenly he got it. He understood the smiles, he understood the joy, and as the wailing, screaming creature went up the street, Wayne looked around and saw that others felt the same. They were sitting on the sidewalk. Some lay on the ground as if napping, but all of them looked as if they were the happiest they had ever been. "He has taken it all upon himself yet again," the councilman said, and Wayne looked and saw the man lying on the podium as though he had oozed from his chair. "Taken what?" Wayne whispered, his voice incapable of volume at that moment. "He comes once a year and takes our pain, as he has since time immemorial. He takes it upon himself, all of it, and that is why he travels. He carries it with him, far from us, and then he returns to take it again and again. He is selfless. Ah, but now it seems it's time to pick another." The ragged traveler began to stumble as it came to the end of Main Street, coughing and weaving as the crowd stood in silent anticipation. Finally, he went to his knees and then seemed to collapse in on himself. The cloak riffled in the wind, looking for all the world like a pile of laundry. And then Wayne saw a man who broke from the crowd and approached. Wayne didn't recognize him, but he thought he might be a barista from the local coffee shop. Without a word, the man picked up the cloak, put it on, and loosed a wail of such tremendous sadness that a shudder ran through the crowd. Then, as if he had been born to it, he began to walk. "Ah, another traveler has been chosen," the councilman said, sighing in ecstasy as he rose to go. It took everything Wayne had in him to rise and head for his car as the crowd began to disperse. He had to write it up while it was still fresh. He had to make it perfect so that it would honor the traveler. After all, this creature burdened itself with their pain and suffering, so the least he could do was honor him properly. It wasn't until he got to his car that he remembered the tape recorder and the message that might be there. He flipped it on and heard the traveler's message waft over him. Welcome to Cashmere, Wayne. Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.